my first question for you guys, and you can both answer this. You can answer together or separately, I guess, if you have different answers. In-N-Out or Five Guys?
In-N-Out.
Absolutely, In-N-Out.
Oh, good. You guys have good answers too. Tell me why.
It's a better burger, I think.
Yeah, I like those thin patties.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Welcome to 10 Questions with 10 Missionaries. Brought to you by Gateway Seminary. With your host, Tyler Sanders.
I'm here with Cade and Jenny Wheeler. You guys do work with Sin Relief.
Yes.
And IMB. I have with me an associate area director and was someone who works with global health strategies. Can you tell me exactly what your title was with global health strategy?
Associate Director for Field Health Strategies.
There we go. Yeah, that was too many words for me to get out of my mouth. So the first question, the real question is if you could tell me a little bit about what that work entails.
You can go ahead.
So we have a global health strategies team that really helps all of our field personnel who have healthcare background to know how to leverage those skills and that experience for main thing, core M task, we say.
Yeah.
And then working with national partners, and health strategies can be anything from clinical medicine to mental health to fitness, all those things.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. For me, I work with our missionaries and national partners to be about the core task as well, but through Compassion Ministries.
Okay. Yeah. Now, let's do a little background. Can you guys tell me the story of your salvation and then kind of end up with call to the mission field?
Absolutely. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So my father was a pastor. Actually, he's retired and is in pastoring still.
Yeah.
So I heard the gospel from a very young age, and the Lord really spoke to my heart when I was a young child that I needed Jesus. And that was my first step of faith in my faith journey, that the Lord just continued to draw me, teach me until the point that I really gave him lordship of my life. And I was in college actually studying nursing and studying about the human body when I just really saw God in creation, in the human body, and just felt like I made my faith my own. Yeah. And the journey of a call to missions was similar. For me, it was gradual. It was over the years. It included being 12 years old and taken on a mission trip into a village in Mexico and just wanting to stay there. And then summer missions when I was a university student, and just the process of knowing that was what the Lord wanted for me, and feeling such a hunger to do it.
Yeah. For
me, I grew up in church 9 months before being born.
Yeah.
I was in church like Jenny was, and but I was a little bit slower. I didn't realize, in youth group and RAs and stuff, but it wasn't until I was 15 that I realized that Jesus was not Lord of my life. And at 15, then I prayed to receive Christ. Even though I went through evangelism training and everything else, even as younger, 13, 14 in youth group, it didn't really hit home till I was 15.
Yeah.
And then at 17, I was at camp. And one of the exercises, things that we had to do in a large group setting, God just really spoke to me and wanted me for missions.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit later that I knew it is international, but God just spoke to me in a real clear way. That's how he has done it for me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just a little bit thicker in the head,
Yeah.
But he spoke to me in a real way.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what was a significant culture shock moment you guys experienced?
Depends which country, I suppose.
Yeah, we've been living in Eastern Europe for over 26 years, and we've lived in different countries. And I'm trying to think.
That's a good question. Culture shock. I mean, the food is always different.
Usually
yeah.
culture shock happens more when we come back
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to the States.
Yeah.
And then, you're hit by air conditioning and
Right.
all the choices in the store. And
Yeah.
I don't know how to use my credit card at the gas pump or whatever. I mean, lots of weird, where you
Yeah.
really feel like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah. It can be small things.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
usually
right.
is.
Yeah. But overseas culture shock things, I don't know where we've been. Maybe we've been on the field too long where it doesn't really surprise us anymore.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, for us, it's always been about learning about the local culture,
Yeah.
try to understand what motivates people to do what they do.
Right. That can take a long time, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I mean, yeah, learning from different cultures. There are good qualities, there are bad qualities.
Yeah.
But shocking things, I don't know.
Yeah. What's your day-to-day, what's your preparation like for like the day-to-day ministry work you guys are involved in?
We start the day with just concerted, like intense time with the Lord, in scripture, in prayer, really, and with some coffee. Obviously, that's preparation for some ways. But just spending time in the Lord. We cannot do it in our own strength. And we have learned that the hard way sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. After we do our Bible studies and things in the morning, then we try to exercise a little bit, just depending on the day and the weather, whether we're outside or inside. And then we get to work.
What's the most consistent challenge you guys face in that work?
Time zones. Because of our work, a lot of what Jenny does is meetings from the States. And so we're 7 to 10 hours difference. And for myself as well, but, we're always dealing with time zones and having meetings at late at night or early in the morning. Yeah.
I think it's developing leaders and having those kind of partners who will continue the main work of making disciples and leading. We see a lot of kind of false starts sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What part of your spiritual giftings match up well with the work you do?
You want to go?
I would say the Lord's gifted Cade in teaching. He really gets a lot of joy out of empowering others and helping enable them to do what the Lord's called them to do. And it's exciting to see him in a role where he can really flourish in that.
Jenny is really gifted in coaching, in passionate, I don't want to say passionate speech, but she's really can deliver well when she's passionate about something and be able to help lead in that way. And that's why she's good with a lot of our coaches in the health field, that she leads well because she's very passionate about what she does and can convey that passion in a clear way.
Yeah. Can you guys tell me a swing and a miss you guys have had? Let me say you guys one more time, actually.
Yeah. When we were doing hands-on church planting, we've had hundreds more false starts.
A lot of false starts.
Than we've had in successes. But those false starts weren't for nothing because they helped train our national partners and how to respond to questions or how to work with local government or avoid local government, avoid certain people or whatever that we need to do to have successful church plants. But we've had a lot of false starts, but learning from them. Yeah.
Maybe on the other side of that question, do you guys have like any particular just highlight ministry moments that just you look back on and you're like, that was God working? And when it's a tough day, you can go back at that. I'm supposed to be here. Is there anything like that you guys have had?
I would say one that sticks out for me is even through a hard thing, Cade was blacklisted and we were displaced and, trying to work non-residentially for a place that we felt the Lord had called us. We got in a position where we could bring national partners and fairly new believers to us where we were in a neighboring country, stay in our apartment, do training with them, laugh, and all of the things. And we took them out to do evangelism and just really saw how excited they got about sharing the gospel. Well, because they were in a cross-cultural setting and they were given opportunities to do hands-on, it kind of got into their blood, into their soul that they couldn't live without it. And we saw those young people develop into real leaders who have continued the work of the Lord. And that was not something we ever could have planned or anticipated, just how the Lord would work through that, through, piling mattresses on the floor in our apartment and things. But that was fun.
Yeah, and they'll point back to that as one of their pivotal milestones
it's for them too.
In their spiritual walk was, opening up the van door and say, tuck and roll, and out they go. And, they're sharing with their countrymen that were in a different country.
Yeah.
So.
What kind of stuff are you guys reading right now?
I just finished Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. I'm not sure exactly how to say his last name. And it's been good. It's a secular book, but it has some good leadership principles in it.
Oh, good.
And for what we do in servicing or helping people that are in vulnerable positions, just showing a type of hospitality, for the kingdom's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I liked about that book is that he emphasizes how we make people feel. He's in the restaurant business and how important it is, not what we do, but how we make people feel. And I think that's an important concept for all of us. I am reading a leadership book that I can't remember who wrote it, but also the Practical Art of Spiritual Conversation by Schultz and Rogers. And it's got kind of that healthcare piece in there that I really like.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you guys have any major recent impact stories of just unbelievable thing that's been going on?
Yeah. It's been, in my role, I get to start projects and see the end result. So it's very satisfying for me. And one of the things in the past 2 years, since the war between Russia and Ukraine has still ongoing, but we've seen a lot of projects go through sin relief. We've had over 138 projects just with the in response to the Ukrainian war. Yeah, and we've had 110 completed projects, and out of those 110 completed projects, we've had over 10,000 salvations. Wow! 38 new churches started. That's in Ukraine and outside of Ukraine, in Europe mostly.
How narrow are these projects? What's the scope of one of these projects?
It just depends on the project director, actually. Okay. It could be it could be from 6 months. It could be up to a year. We've seen a lot of things like in Germany, for example. Our company personnel there have engaged the German Evangelical Church and challenged them to respond, and in partnership with them, getting the church outside of its walls, they've responded well. Yeah. Whether that's in Germany or Poland or Hungary or Czech Republic, we've been all over the place with working with Ukrainians in those countries.
And it includes such a variety of things. Even I remember one of the projects was neighboring country. The believers there were helping to evacuate people from Ukraine. And in the vans, as they were traveling, they were sharing with them the gospel. And so they actually saw a great response as the people are captive audience, really, and hurting and needing hope. Yeah. In anywhere from that to helping with food and housing and with trauma care, just a major variety of projects.
Yeah. And that includes what you want to talk about.
Yeah, it does actually. From a health strategies perspective, we saw all of the masses of refugees coming out of Ukraine, including primarily mothers and children, because their men had to stay there and fight. And so one of our workers in Europe, with her national partner, created a trauma-informed coloring book. So just a real simple idea, but something to minister specifically to the children and the trauma they had experienced. And so those were put into little backpacks with stress toys and colored pencils and things, and used all around the continent. Well, then other workers in South America and in Asia heard about this and developed their own version of the trauma-informed coloring book. And in South America, I know that they got funding from what's called a Preach and Heal project that we have with the IMB. They've printed thousands of these trauma-informed coloring books, trained nationals in how to use them, and have seen especially teenagers really find the truth and the gospel in these coloring books, and having someone kind of walk through that with them. And so it's something so simple and yet so powerful when we're able just to connect and meet a need like that.
What's like a sample page out of this coloring book kind of like?
It really can vary, but it can have pictures that have, kind of life all sunshiny and beautiful and happy, and then life in a traumatic state. And helping them kind of walk through that. It can have a child in the arms of Jesus. It can have, you fill in what it means for you to have hope or love or peace, and kind of draw that yourself. I mean, a variety of things. Yeah.
And this is being kind of used like in his evangelism tool in a way as well.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Final question. How can listeners get involved in the kind of work that you guys do?
Well, definitely can go to sinrelief.org, and do want to promote that we have serve tours where pastors can bring their churches overseas like they do in the United States. We have serve tour in the U.S. Now we also have serve tour internationally. And I know that there's still a serve tour that's coming in Cape Town, South Africa in June of this year that they can still sign up for. And of course, we'll be having them, in 2025 and beyond as well.
And I would say some people have the false idea that the IMB doesn't do healthcare missions, but we do. We really do. And all around the globe, we're seeing the need for demonstrations of care for people, for their needs. We were just having a conversation earlier about the needs for trauma healing and trauma care all around the globe. And there are so many ways to get involved in that, especially people who have healthcare backgrounds. We have a pipeline for them, and using those skills for the kingdom around the globe and caring for people. We can go places where a lot of people can't as people with healthcare background. And so, getting people from our churches who have those kind of skills on the mission field, utilizing those it's essential.
It's a big deal. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.